Hi there, Chris here with another fresh tip for you all. In this video, we are going to take a look at painting a Mcfarlane Toys Warhammer 40,000 Sister of Battle ADEPTA Sororita. This is going to be part one in this little series, and you can see here I have the figure all kind of, out of the package. This is the artist proof, so it's apparently unpainted. I'm just chucking the base because, we're not going to really use it. Here's the bolt gun, the chain sword. I put those in the hands just because, it looks cool. First thing I'm going to do is begin disassembling this model, or this figure, I should say. Pull off the head, simple enough. The backpack was pretty straightforward. It looked like it had an adhesive, but I don't know, maybe not. The arms were actually pretty tricky to pull out, and there are those little rings inside the socket, so be mindful of that when you are pulling this out and disassembling it. Here you can see I'm pulling the torso part as well. Again, it's pretty sturdy. The plastic that these things are made of are pretty flexible, so, there is a bit of give. Here you can see with the belt attached to the cloth on the loincloth or whatever the heck it is, you can see it's pretty soft, and it's really just glued essentially at a buckle point in the front and a buckle point on the back. A buckle point? I don't know. But pretty straightforward. That cloth bit is pretty soft. And to really get things started, I am going to begin with the bolt gun. I'm going to, basically kind of run backwards with this whole process, as normally I would probably start off with the armor and, the gun would be last. We're going to start with the gun just for, giggles' sake. So I'm going to begin cleaning off the mold lines and sanding down any divots and anything like that. I do use a combination of X-Acto blade or hobby knife, whatever you want to call it, and little sanding sticks just to knock those edges down. You can see here. And again, this bolt gun had quite a heavy mold line on it. There are some other points inside, like the bolter's barrel and stuff like that. I didn't bother cleaning those out because I wasn't too concerned about it. I'm going to use my alligator clips, my trusty alligator clips, to clip onto the part. I initially grabbed it there, but then decided to grab it by the handle, just because, I don't know, it made more sense, and the clip was pretty close to the ammo clip thing, clip and clip. But you can see here, this is after it's been fully cleaned up, and I'm going to use some Stynel Res Gloss Black to prime this up. I'm going to use a Patriot 105 spraying at around 25 psi. It's in between like 25 and 30. It's pretty high psi, really. Here, just give it a quick little test, and really fast here, I'm just going to begin laying this down. And in fact, as I lay this down, I do notice one thing that actually kind of drives me a little bit bananas with this surface. The surface of the plastic, or whatever this sculpt or whatever this plastic is, it is very porous, meaning that, it's got the tiniest indentations and such. And so with the gloss prime, typically when I lay down a fairly generous amount, I get a really nice reflective shine off of it. And I can see it at the end of the barrel, but otherwise, like on the main casing of the gun, it is like, it's not glossy at all. So I decided, okay, I'll put another layer down. And even after this layer, it still had that slight texture there. Like, it's annoying. You can see the barrel, you can see the back of the gun. You see some points there where, it is smooth and glossy. And I decided I'm going to move forward. I'm not going to push my luck adding any more primer down. I'm going to use Spastix Mirror Chrome, despite my initial concern, because of just using a regular metallic. I wanted to have a chrome just to get that really good metallic shine off of this. And I begin working my way through, laying this down, and I pretty much work my way like this all the way to completion, just really kind of just laying this down, working my way around, and then anywhere that it feels like it, could use a little bit more, I lay a little bit more down, but otherwise, it is pretty much just this one coating onto the surface. And again, normally with this chrome, it's like a mirror finish, and there's some points where it looks a little bit mirror, but otherwise it's a little disappointing, really. But I decided to endeavor and move forward, so I'm going to put a gloss coat on top of this, and for that I normally use Pledge with Future, but it's just Pledge nowadays. This bottle's really old, so I wouldn't concern myself with it. Pledge is pretty much what if you want to follow along with this. Otherwise, just use a gloss varnish. Still staying at around the same PSI, and this is basically just laying down a quick layer here. And then usually the way I work with this is that I'll lay a quick layer down, either hit it with the dryer or set it aside, leave it alone for a bit. But 3 layers later, basically we have our gloss coat. And you can see it's a lot more reflective now, but even still, you can see like on the casing of the gun how it still has like that slightly pockmarked kind of surface, and I do not like that. I whip out some painter's tape and some Tamiya 6mm masking tape and begin masking off some of the areas here. And basically, I'm just masking off so that I can paint the casing itself of the gun. Mask it all off. You can see here the 6mm tape was carefully applied here and there, and also fits inside divots and such like that. And then I use the green painter's tape just for the bulk of it. I'm using liquid frisket, an old spongy foam, and of course a clamping action tweezer. Just grabbing a little bit here. I shook it up. Always should shake up your liquid frisket. Liquid frisket essentially just liquid mask. Various names for the same kind of product. Basically, it's a latex product, and it's all it does is you just kind of dab this around on the surface, and basically what we're doing here is we're creating the chipping that will initially follow when we lay our color down onto this surface. And again, you can see like I laid some heavily down in some points and really lightly in some other points. It's really up to you how much chipping, and you should be careful of that. You can see how like it was starting to get a little goopy. It does dry pretty quickly, so once you dab it down, leave it be, don't touch it. Naphthalene Red Light from Golden High Flow line. We're going to use that to as our base coat. Still sticking with our Patriot 105, spraying at around 25 psi, and we're just going to begin laying this down. And here I'm just slowly building up, as I tend to do. I don't like to just lay a heavy layer right down all at once. I like to slowly build up to the effect, especially since we're dealing with thinner pigments like this paint, and it just makes more sense. So as I lay the layer down, you can see it's mostly even coverage, and of course I just spray in the front there, just get that front part. And basically it's hitting it as we go, and you can see it's actually quite saturated in some points there, and that's fine. It does finish with a bit of a gloss, so do be mindful of that if you are using Golden High Flow. Otherwise, just use basically your own favorite mid-tone red. It's basically like if you're on the Citadel side of things, it's like Evil Sun's Scarlet or something like that. Raw Umber Hue is next, or if you're on the Citadel side of things, Eggrex Earthshade is kind of a similar value. And basically you can spray it into your airbrush as well. And I'm just using this to shade the uppermost portion on the casing itself, just to create a bit of shadow, kind of a non-metallic metal type of vibe, essentially, with this kind of shading and highlighting type of scheme, where you build your deeper shadows in the high points, and then you create some highlights and things like that. Next, we're going to jump over to some Fluid Matte Medium. I actually thin this down with a little bit of Golden's airbrush thinner as well. And I'm just applying a quick little layer down onto the surface to knock out that shine, as it were. I probably could have pulled the liquid mask off as well at this point, but I decided I'll just lay the varnish down and go from there. I think once we get to that phase, I think you may notice that not quite as much as the liquid mask comes off. Here I'm just having a quick look at it. It's all nice and dry, and basically I'm going to begin pulling off all the tape and the masking. And here's the final little bit of masking. I didn't bother showing the whole process because, well, it's tedious, and it's just pulling masking. And as long as you did it pretty good, cleanly, you got nice clean edges. You can see there's a couple little boo-boos here and there, but I'm not too worried about it because there's still more yet to do on this. Here I'm just simply using the end of a pencil, using the eraser. I've often seen this one used, and so I figured I'd demonstrate it. This is kind of a common way. I was just going to use my finger, but I thought, no, because then, the oils from your finger and everything like that can get on that surface, and we're not done painting this surface, so yeah. Again, really carefully, we're just, lightly abrading that surface, and we're pulling that mask off, and that is it. You could leave it as such and, attach it to your model and continue on, or we can go a little bit further, in which we are. So stay tuned for part 2 in this, working on the bolt gun. Huge thank you to my patrons. Without their support, these videos would not be possible. If you're considering Patreon support, click the link in the description below and it'll take you off to Patreon, where there are varying tiers of support, and a huge, huge thank you to everybody who does. Take care of those brushes, and they will take care of you.